Hello everyone, this is Reddit 9 to 5 and I am reading a story of nuclear revenge. The title of this one is Make Me Quit, Get Reported for Your Illegal Company Practices by Poco the Fox. Now, this story is actually kind of long, so it will take up the entire episode, but hold tight, it's a good one. In all honesty, this account is mostly a throwaway to distance myself from my main account where I still talk to people in the area this happened. On one hand, given the time that's passed since the particular revenge happened, I could probably get away with it. But on the other hand, there's a chance that this could come back to bite me. It's not that I did anything illegal, but many may argue it was morally wrong at the time, and I probably could have handled the situation a whole heck of a lot better. So, on to the story. At one point in my life, I found myself bored. I needed spending cash, but at the same time, like any typical college student, I needed a job that would work around my class hours. Enter C Corp, not the real name, obviously. C Corp was a locally owned chain of gas stations in the southeastern part of Georgia and parts of Florida. I forget the total number of stations, but it was under 50, if that matters. I applied and was given a simple clerking position where I would work weekends and 2 nights a week, for a total of about 32 hours a week on average, sometimes more, sometimes less. I worked there for about a year when I was offered a position to help reopen a store renovated after a fire, with a promotion to assistant manager. My hours were going to obviously change, but by the same token, I gained better pay and a nice new day shift which would help things out. To be quite honest, I even debated taking some time off from school to concentrate on the job, as it was entirely possible I would be promoted to manager of my own store before long. There were even veiled hints and suggestions of that very thing happening in a few months, as it were. It never got that far, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. It didn't take long for me to start noticing some issues with the store and the company as a whole, issues which I did my level best to correct. We were nearing hunting season, turkey and then deer, and in an effort to cater to this, the store started getting in several pellets of ammunition. So now, we had to figure out how to display the various types of shotgun shells, rifle bullets, while also doing our level best to ensure things didn't get in the way. It was around this time I found myself speaking with the store manager, having been called on the carpet, as the saying goes, for refusing to sell ammunition to a customer. I explained to the manager that I had attempted to check the ID on the customer, who refused to give it. So I told the manager that I knew full well that this was illegal, as ID was required by state law. And furthermore, you had to be 18 to buy them. That started me on the path that would lead to my termination a few weeks later. I started noticing company memos popping in the office, all dealt with company practices regarding ammunition. One even went so far as to say that it was a terminable offense to refuse a sale of shotgun shells to a customer, regardless of age. That one actually vanished a few days after it went up, with me suspecting someone in the legal department realized the trouble they would get into with it. The flow of ammunition didn't stop. A week before my termination, things got worse. The state in question has this lottery, of which the lion's share is scratch-off tickets. You know the type, pay a buck, scratch off, and hope you win something. Now the lottery states on the back of every single ticket that the retailer who sold it must pay up to $600 in winnings. Anything above that has to be claimed at the central lottery office in the state's capital. Retailers are warned that should they refuse to pay this, there are instructions on the back on how to do this, then they can be fined by the Lottery Commission or worse. Imagine my surprise when I'm written up for following the Lottery Commission's policy and paying out a $300 win for a customer. I was told point blank that company policy was not to pay out anything more than $100, regardless of what the Lottery Commission said. The final straw before my eventual termination, though honestly I quit, they still listed me as terminated, came from when training another cashier. The very next day, the count came up short by exactly $100. I refused to sign the write up, which meant the company would have to investigate it, or so I thought. Same day, the district manager called the store and made some veiled threats about calling the police over this, and left me with a note that said, if the count comes up $100 over today, he won't say anything. Oh, hell no, he didn't. I waited until the manager returned from her meeting, dropped all my keys on the counter, and told her directly, I'm done. I walked out, didn't really look back. I was pissed. Pissed at the treatment that I'd been given over my time working there, pissed over being called a thief, pissed at what I knew the company was doing to my little community, and pissed that as far as I could tell, they could get away with it. That's when I hatched my plan of revenge. First and foremost, I needed to talk with a friend. One of my college buddies also worked for the county sheriff office, so I plied him with some good barbecue and a few beers, and then asked him, hypothetically speaking, what would happen to a company if it was found that they were doing something illegal, like, oh, selling ammunition they shouldn't be, or something like that. He knew I'd recently left C Corp and the circumstances of why I left, so it didn't take long for him to ask just what was going on. So I spilled the beans, even including the reported theft incident I had been accused of. He was on the edge of his seat, even going so far to note that the district manager's actions itself was illegal and told me to come meet with my friend's boss the next day to give a statement. So I did just that. I laid out everything, told about the memo about not refusing sales against state law, and then gave detailed information about the DM's call, the incident itself, and other things I had witnessed regarding illegal practices by the company, though not mentioned here. It took the better part of 4 hours to get everything told and typed out. By the way the detective acted, I got the impression I had either given him one hell of a caseload or broken some case right open. Fun, fun. However, I wasn't really done yet. I had one more call to make that would prove pretty simple and short, and involved me calling the lottery commission and telling them about the company's policy, which went against the lottery agreement. I was assured that they'd look into things, and that my information would be kept secret. I just had to sit back and wait. The fallout. 2 or 3 weeks later, our local paper ran a story on the front page talking about a multiple department sting operation that happened in our area. The sting was investigating illegal sales of weapons, alcohol, and ammunition to minors. In that raid, C Corp had been hit hard, with several of their stores being shut, and several managers and district managers being arrested on various charges tied to this illegal activity. The company itself was facing severe, in the 7-figure range, fines from the state, and it was being called into question whether or not they had the proper licenses to sell ammunition and firearms in the first place. The only mention about what the DM had said to me came in the form of one of the investigating officers noting that the company had resorted to blackmail in an attempt to silence anyone who dared question the company's policies or practices. The store did remain open, but you could tell that the managers were seriously nervous about what the future held. Sales of ammunition and guns stopped completely, and overnight though. About a week after the raid by police, lottery tickets of all kinds simply vanished from the stores. Big signs out front simply read, "We do not sell lotto." The validation machines were gone. The scratch-off ticket areas lay empty. The lottery was not in the building. I can only guess what happened in that case, but I wouldn't be surprised if the lottery commission sent people in with winning tickets, only to have those people turned away. The fact that they lost their lottery sales would point it to being a serious issue at the very least. That, or the Lottery Commission decided to distance themselves from the company, which was already under federal investigation. Yeah, that's right. The ammunition and guns thing went federal. Ultimately, the company was a shell of its former self. About half the gas stations ended up closing due to no longer being profitable, and what stations didn't close were just shells of their former selves. The company eventually declared bankruptcy after a final scandal brought them another round of state and federal fines. In that case, they were busted for price gouging after raising the gas price per gallon to about $6 a gallon in cities where they had no other competition. This happening just prior to a pending tropical storm. Today, it's been close to 15 years since this all went down. Z Corp doesn't exist any longer. After declaring bankruptcy, most of the stores were sold off to a competitor who ended up closing all but 5 or 6 of the stores due to redundancies. A whole host of honest, innocent people ended up out of work simply because the store decided to screw over one guy who wanted to do the right thing by the law and state policies. Several of the corporate staff were given 2 to 3 year suspended sentences, while others ended up paying personal fines on top of what the company was facing. The company has become something of a warning to others about what not to do when an employee voices a concern, and above and beyond that, why it's a good idea to follow the letter of the law exactly as it's written, regardless if it hinders your bottom line or not. I sometimes think back on the whole affair and wonder just what they hoped to achieve with that blackmail attempt. Some part of me thinks that DM honestly thought that it was the best option, and may have even been trying to help out an employee he liked. That was something that honestly bugs me looking back. Every interaction I had with the guy was a good one, right up to him grooming me to be another store manager. So maybe he was trying to protect me. Then again, he could have just been the butthole I assumed, and that was him showing his true colors. I guess we'll never know. He moved out of the area a few years later, and I sure as heck wasn't about to talk to him again. Not after everything that just happened. So that's my story. How I destroyed an entire gas station chain all on my own. Wow, OP. I mean, when you give someone that much fuel to light up a fire, it's gonna burn. When you just blatantly ignore laws like that, it's not really that hard to imagine them going bankrupt or getting fined by the federal government or what have you. I mean, think of all those poor people that were just scammed out of their money. Like, imagine going to a place, buying a lottery ticket, and just basically being told that even though you won, you still don't get your money. Like, how fucking stupid is that? So, honestly, good riddance. That company sounded terrible, and I'm glad they got what they deserved. So, I mean, it really does suck that all those people lost their jobs, but in the end, I think only good really came of this. So, I wouldn't feel too bad, OP. And that's it for this story of nuclear revenge. This is Reddit 9 to 5, and if you like this content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have a good story that you'd like to share, be sure to post it down in the comments, and I may just share it in my next video. See you guys later.